Before you crown the Beatles the king of the 60s, meet 5 brands that made more complex, creative, endearing music and never got the credit. They did things the Beatles couldn't, and want to know why? Let's fix that now. Starting with number 5, Free, the band that proved less is more. Most people know Free because of one song, All Right Now. But here's what they don't know. This band has more talent than some of the biggest rock groups of all time. Even the Beatles. Seriously. Free didn't use a ton of flashy effects or complicated music. They just kept it raw and real. Paul Rodgers had a voice that sounded like a mix of smooth butter and broken glass. Soft one moment and powerful the next. And the guitarist, Paul Krossoff, he didn't just play the guitar. He made it cry, scream, and whisper. Here's the twist. Free had everything a superstar band needs. Great songs, crazy talent, unforgettable performances. But they never became a household name like the Beatles. Why? They were young, burned out fast, and broke up too soon. Imagine if LeBron only played one season. Their biggest hit became so popular it kind of overshadowed the rest of their music. People thought they were a one-hit wonder, when really they were a hidden treasure. So what happens when a band gets everything right but still doesn't become world famous? You get a legend that lives in the shadows. But guess what? If you think a rock band like Free was talented, wait until you meet a band that mixed jazz, rock, and psychedelic sounds, and still didn't make it big. And trust me, their keyboard player had a voice that could give Freddie Mercury a run for his money. Yeah, at number 4, Traffic, the band that sounded like 3 bands at once. What happens when you take rock, mix it with jazz, and then toss in a little psychedelic weirdness? You'd think it would sound confusing, right? Like a recipe gone totally wrong. But somehow, Traffic made it work so well. In fact, they sounded like 3 totally different bands all at the same time. Most people know the Beatles because they made catchy songs that you could sing along to. But Traffic wasn't really about easy sing-alongs. Their songs felt more like adventures. One second, you're floating in a soft, peaceful melody. The next, the band hits you with jazzy rhythms and trippy solos that twist and turn like a roller coaster. The magic behind this sound? Steve Winwood. He wasn't just the lead singer. He could play the keyboard, guitar, and even the drums. And guess what? He was just 18 when the band started. While other teenagers were trying to pass math class, Steve was writing songs that confused and amazed full-grown adults. His voice sounded wise and soulful, like someone who had lived 5 lives already. But it wasn't just Steve. The whole band played like a musical puzzle, with each piece fitting just right. Chris Wood brought in the wild saxophone parts. Jim Capaldi's drumming added heart. And Dave Mason, he was the wild card. One moment he's writing beautiful ballads, the next he's throwing in something totally unexpected. If this makes your foot tap or your brain rewind, don't scroll past. Press like, hit subscribe, and let the music history keep surprising you. So why aren't they as famous as the Beatles? That's the twist. Their music was too smart for radio hits. You had to really sit down and listen. And that's why real music fans, especially other musicians, love Traffic to this day. They didn't play for charts, they played for art. And speaking of weird and wonderful, imagine a rock band led by not a screaming guitar, but a flute. Not a background gimmick of the main instrument. And somehow it shredded harder than most guitar solos. Up next is the band that fused fairy tales, medieval energy, and pure rock madness into something unforgettable. When you think of 60s rock, you don't expect a flutist in the spotlight, but that's exactly what made them one of the boldest and most unique acts of their time. Number 3, Jethro Tull, the flute-wielding rock wizards. Meet Jethro Tull, a band that took the rule book for rock music and set it on fire. Frontman Ian Anderson didn't just play the flute, he attacked it. He'd stand on one leg like a wizard casting spells, blasting out solos that felt like medieval lightning bolts. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did, and it was amazing. Most people think the Beatles were creative, and they were, but Jethro Tull took creativity and turned it into pure chaos in the best way. The songs weren't just about love or dancing. They told stories about folklore, farms, weird old kings, and life's strangest questions. Some songs felt like reading a fantasy book, others like walking through a strange dream. And their sound? It blended everything. Acoustic guitars, electric riffs, fast flute solos, and even sudden changes in rhythm that made your brain say, wait, what just happened? You couldn't guess where the song was going next, and that's what made it fun. But here's the twist, they didn't care about being popular. While the Beatles were topping the charts, Jethro Tull was busy blowing people's mind on stage with wild performances. Critics were confused, fans were amazed, and over time, they became legends, just in a quieter, more underground kind of way. Now, you might be thinking, okay, how can anyone top that kind of madness? Well, hold up, because we're just getting to the truly bizarre. Next up is a band led by a guy who mixed rock with comedy, jazz, and straight up chaos. His lyrics made fun of politics, society, and everything in between, while the music behind him felt like it was from a cartoon, a concert hall, and a spaceship all at once. You're not ready for this. Let's meet the Mothers of Invention. 2. The Mothers of Invention, the musical mad scientists. At first, you might think that this next band sounds like a joke. Their name, the Mothers of Invention, sounds like something your weird uncle made up after eating too much cheese, right? But don't laugh yet, because this group, led by wild genius Frank Zappa, was deadly serious about being weird and brilliant. Imagine a band where every song feels like a mix of a jazz concert, a rock show, a political roast, and a cartoon. That's the Mothers of Invention. They didn't just play music, they messed with your head. One second the drums are thumping like a regular rock song, and the next you're inside a circus tent of saxophones, comedy skits, and sound effects. Frank Zappa wrote songs about war, greed, TV addiction, fake people. Basically, he roasted everything and everyone. While the Beatles were singing All You Need Is Love, Zappa was over here yelling, "Wake up, look around, the world's a mess." But he did it with such cleverness that you couldn't help but laugh and listen. Their live shows were pure chaos flute solos, jazz freakouts, even guys in chicken suits. But behind the madness, absolute musical genius. Complex rhythms, sudden changes, and arrangements only top-tier pros could pull off. They weren't chasing fame like the Beatles. Zappa wanted to destroy the rulebook, not top the charts. And just when you think that it can't get any weirder, the final band on this list rewrote rock history with powerful lyrics, a genre-blending sound, and a lineup of full future legends. Coming up next, a band so underrated, it's criminal. Number 1. Buffalo Springfield, the hidden legends of rock. This band had it all. Famous members, powerful songs, and deep messages. Yet somehow, most people today barely know their name. Meet Buffalo Springfield, the band that could have been bigger than the Beatles if only the world had been paying closer attention. From the outside, they look like your typical 60s rock group, but inside, a musical goldmine. The lineup included Stephen Stills and Neil Young. Yes, that Neil Young. Two guys read each other. Their most famous track, For What It's Worth, might sound soft and slow, but it hit hard and it became a protest anthem, a song that made people stop and think. Here's the wild twist. Their music blended folk, country, and rock in a way no one else was doing. It wasn't flashy or loud, it was smart, subtle, deep, and their harmonies? Smooth as butter. But the band didn't last long. Tensions between members, wild egos, and different visions tore them apart. They were like a rocket that shot straight up, then exploded too soon. But the pieces, they landed everywhere. Neil Young joined Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Stephen Stills became a rock icon, and fans who really know music, they never forgot Buffalo Springfield. So why weren't they more famous? Easy. Timing. Drama. And the fact that the Beatles, who played catchy pop tunes for everyone, were easier to digest. Buffalo Springfield made you think, and not everyone wants that. Still, if the talent was the only thing that mattered, this band would have ruled the world. And now that you've seen all five, the Misfits, the Rebels, the Poets, and the genius bands that got overshadowed by the Fab Four, you might be wondering, were the Beatles really the best? Or were they just the most seen? Maybe, just maybe, it's time to start listening past the spotlight. Like what you're hearing? Hit like and share it with your music-loving crew. If Forgotten Legends excite you, wait until you hear about the most loved versus the most hated 90s bands next. Total nostalgia trip. Subscribe now and keep the classics alive.